kind of, you know, I got the worst response I could imagine, which was I got a message that said, "We should talk about this." And so I call him and I go, "Yeah, Bob, you know, what are you thinking?" And he said, "I don't know how to comment on this." I said, "Well, you know, what do you mean exactly?" And he said, "Well, you know, my sense is that anything that happens on the wire is going to be brought forward to here." And so there's kind of this pause, and then he says, "I think you're going to have to get up on the wire." And that was really what I had to do. I had to just skip all the way through the film. And I had to go to the place where Philippe takes his foot off the building and puts it on and begins to go. And that was a 6.5-minute sequence. And it was difficult for me. And probably the worst part was, once we got to the other end, he was going to cross 6 more times or 5 more times. So we're just getting started here. So anyway, it was interesting because in all the action sequences I've done with Bob over the years, we've always had horses, guns, cars, noise, and stuff. And here, this was the action sequence in his film, and it was basically silent. So very different kind of experience, but we didn't die. And it's always good when you don't die doing this job.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time now that we can open up the discussion, and I would like you to, if you have questions, that you can ask it to one of the members of our panel. Just one small information I had to add, that we published a soundtrack, not a soundtrack, but a CD of the best music of some of the best music, because the best music wouldn't be on one CD. Some of the best music of Alan Silvestri, and that CD you can buy when you leave the theater. So that's my little commercial message that I had to introduce. So now, please, if there are questions, yeah, already I see the one. Yeah, just keep. Yeah, there.
It looks like everyone's sitting on an enormous aeroplane. I was never all about to take off and go to Mars or something.
Yeah, hi. You know, speaking about survivors, one of the things that a film composer has to do is to adapt. And I think Mr. Brosse talked a bit about this. Because you have these trends now, these musical trends, I mean, very ostinato-based music, there's the so-called horns of doom, these elements. I'm curious, especially Patrick and Alan, what do you think about these? How do you adapt to these new trends? Are you scared, or it's just comfortable?
I don't want to knock anything over here. Really, it's music. It's all music. And drama. And the zeitgeist, what's current, what's out there. You know, when you look at a great man like Picasso, you know, he was changing, you know, his oeuvre every 2 minutes. You know, he just, as the mood took him, he went this way, that way. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright, you know, he just changed it all. He was watching them all for 30 years and thought, I'll do that. I'll do, what's that wonderful house, water?
Falling Waters.
Falling Waters. I'll do that. And they went, oh Christ, you know, we thought, they wrote them all for 30 years. I'm not saying, you know, that's what we do, but that's a sort of grand, you know, sort of explanation of that question. It's really about, you know, if you're interested and keen and enjoying it, and people are still asking you to work, you say, okay, what's going on, you know? And you enjoy it. You take what's out there and you do your own thing. You hopefully bring your own voice to it, and you know, people criticise you. Think, oh, he should be doing this, she should be doing that. You think, well, what's that got to do with them? You know, this is a director or a filmmakers who have asked me to do this, and if it's something, I mean, I was approached about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and I decided it wasn't my bag, you know. I moved on from that. You know there are certain things that are not you. That's a quintessentially Californian thing. Why would I do that? So you've got to be quite frank with yourself and know this is something I could enjoy and bring my own stamp to it and use these elements. So there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing is new under the sun. Austerity is as old as, Handel is as old as Bach is as old. Nothing's new. Everybody has adopted these things. It's whether they feature more or less at the time is the style of the moment. So it's really, nothing is new under the sun. It's up to you to, crudely adapt or die, if that's the most basic form of it. But really it's about enjoying it. I'm sure, Alan, there's certain projects, and I'm sure I speak for both of us, or for all of us here, you think, well, I'm not getting back in that. I'm the wrong person for that, and I won't have fun. It drives Maggie, my agent, crazy. I'll think, no, that's not for me. I won't enjoy that. It's about fun, and it's about saying, well, I could do that. And I know that will be a stretch for me. I'm going to have to change things, and and sort of, not simplify the music, but make the music very direct and speaks to an audience, a wider audience. But it's not patronising. It's the most difficult thing in the world to write something very clear and simple and direct. Simplicity is the most difficult thing in any art form. A logo, for this festival, it's a bee, and it's for the Brussels festival. It's a bird as well. These things are, these things are simple and difficult. I hope that helps.
I think just to, because I was asked. And by the way, I'll do those films, okay? I just want
Okay,
you to
okay.
know.
You told him very well.
Patrick really said it all. The only thing I might add is, whatever film is being made, it could be a period piece from the distant past. Whatever it is, though, it's being made now for audiences now. And there are characteristics of films now where, even though the subject may be from the distant past, the pacing of dialogue, the pacing of the cut of the film, all of this is being done in our time, at the moment, for audiences right now, not for audiences 100 years ago. And so you're getting that sense of pace and that sense of storytelling as the composer. And so, we do what we feel is the correct response because we're fortunately living right now, and we are the audience, and it is our time. And so, in one sense, we really don't have to think too much about that. It's a natural response to something being done in real time.
Was iemand die... Ja, meneer... Nee, sorry, het is iemand die... Straks naar u komt.
So, may I speak? Oh, I have a question to all composers.
My question is for Mr. Silvestri. I'm a lover of Western music, and I would like to ask you about The Quick and the Dead and the collaboration with Sam Raimi for that film. How was the process of the composition?
The question, one of them, was about The Quick and the Dead and Sam Raimi. There was a tremendous sense of fun in that film. Sam has this really interesting range, and he expresses it kind of in these simultaneous moments. So there's this darkness in this movie, but it's funny at the same time. And in terms of the Western aspect of it, I've been asked now and again about film composing and how we do it. And one of the things that always comes to mind to me is that we have all grown up now, especially our generation, our generations, we've grown up with film. And we have been taught, if you will, through the history of film, which is not that old, to have associations. Filmmakers have used certain kinds of orchestral settings, devices, certain rhythms to express certain things. And the things may have nothing to do with the music, but we've always heard certain kinds of rhythms in westerns or music played for westerns. And when we hear da-da-da-da-da, we go, ah, yeah, let's go, let's go. And when we hear dun 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 dun, we know the Indians are coming because Hollywood has taught this to us. So this goes to a high string sustain, we know we're supposed to get nervous, to sweeping strings, we feel romantic. We've learned this vocabulary. So it is the language we speak. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but it is part of, certainly, the language we speak when we speak to an audience through music on behalf of a film. And so when you add comedy to a Western and Sam Raimi, you can actually have a lot of fun because the slightest little rhythm or phrase sends a huge history of favorite moments in films, iconic moments, and that's all part of our toolbox, if you will, when we score a film.
First we had somebody who was...
Yeah, I have a question to our composers, and I think it's a little bit megalomaniac for me as a film music student. I have to ask, is there any possibility to do an internship?
You cheeky bastard! You got the job! That's a strange one.
No?
It's stronger than a letter. Well, I don't know what to say about that, but it's a bit difficult at the moment. Could you show me your SATB, please? Because listen, I'm not being frivolous here. You know, it's fantastic. You know, all music is wonderful. Once you have a Catholic taste in music, not be grand about any of it. It's all sound, energy, the zeitgeist, whatever. But in order to survive, and really it's about survival, in any business. I mean, I once watched a programme about this troubleshooter guy who went around the whole of the UK talking to businesses, and there's this Yorkshireman who had this factory somewhere in Yorkshire, and he said to him, you know, these lathes are really old-fashioned. You know, you've really got to invest. He goes, they work just fine, and the orders are coming in. And he goes, yeah, the orders are coming in now, but in 5 years, you're going to be out of business. And he turns to the camera and says, I'm telling you, he's going to be out of business. It's a great show. He was blunt with them. Talking to the camera, this guy's going to be out of business, and he will not listen to me. And I thought, what he was saying made total sense. This guy was going to be out of business. So to be in business all the time, you have to be aware of the history of film and theatre and opera, as much as you can, and literature. You have to gobble all that stuff up. I'm not frivolous about SATB. You know, it's essential that you know about harmony and counterpoint. I don't care how complex your knowledge is, you must have the basic knowledge of that before you can be employed or assist a composer, because it comes up everywhere. You can't survive over a long period. You know, between the changes in genre and taste. You know, you ultimately have to look at Maurice Jarre, you know, the charming, adorable Maurice Jarre. I met him here a few years ago. You know, hello, Patrick. This is how I have survived. And, you know, I said to him, you are an old, that's how you survived. He goes, I know. You know, and it's that coupled with a real musical background, strong, sort of solid foundation. And unless you've got that, you haven't got the job.
The only thing I would add is no. But it is important to ask the question, because as they say, you're not going to catch any fish if you don't have a line in the water. So, congratulations, and keep asking.
And yeah, I don't have any assistants. I do everything on my own. So, which is probably a very bad move going forward, doing these massive movies. But I'd actually say don't go and work for someone else. Just keep writing music. Like, I think if you just keep doing stuff yourself, you can learn way more than sitting around cleaning up someone else's mess. You know, musical mess. Just make your own musical mess.
There is a gentleman here in the front.
Hello, I have a question about scoring music for a sequel. Because Sir Patrick Alan Doyle, you've scored Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, but you followed in the footsteps of John Williams, who wrote the previous 3 scores, and you adapted Hedwig's theme, but you chose to abandon all other thematic material. So my question was, what is the artistic choice for you to, well, basically do your own thing? And is that something that you felt, that it was something that you felt better doing, or was it something that the director Mike Newell wanted?
Well, it was a whole series of things come into play before you say yes to a job. And as I talked about earlier, you know, it doesn't matter who calls you, you know, whether it's Robert Altman or Mike Newell about a job. It really doesn't matter about the movie. You've got to decide whether you can actually bring something to this and be happy and comfortable in the process. Because ultimately, you know, we talked about earlier, you know, you've got to be under pressure. Everyone's under great pressure. So you have to have all the balls in place before you embark on a project like that. So I had a meeting with the filmmakers to discuss, you know, what my Harry Potter. Well, first of all, my kids said, "You've no choice." So that was a very strong element. Secondly, I thought, well, John Williams is a great, phenomenal talent, and you know, we're all very grateful for the fact that the Symphony Orchestra is alive and well in films, thanks to John. I mean, call him that. I've never met him, but I'd take the liberty of calling him John. We're very close from a distance. So you know, so there's a great tradition of people, you know, composing music with you know, other great composers of thematic material. So that's nothing new. But you have to come into a project like that and think, am I going to be? Is this just going to be an orchestrator's job, or an arranger's job? But then you read the script, you talk to filmmakers, and you realise that in fact this particular project it was a completely new deal. The characters were older, a much darker story, and this theme appears, I think, maybe most 30 seconds worth of music. It was a wonderful open palette for my work, and the filmmakers knew this, and with all great respect to them, they didn't automatically assume I would say yes to this. But there was a very serious discussion about it, and that you've got to be able to get your rocks off, as they say. You enjoy the job. And of course, it was tremendous to follow in John Williams' footsteps. I mean, you'd be insane not to consider it seriously, because it's such and it's a hugely iconic thing. It's a historic franchise, and a phenomenal job they did. But yeah, there's all this, and I joked about the family, but absolutely my kids were like, "You can't even think about saying no, Mr. Art." You know, I'm going to the playground on Monday. He goes, "Guess what my dad's doing?" "Fuck yous." You know, they don't swear, not. So these things are all very human. You know, the job is a very human thing. It's not a pretentious thing. We're in a very human situation, and it's about enjoying yourself and surviving.
Coming back to the internship question, I have another question for you. Do you remember who was Stanley Meyer's intern at
I remember.
Iliad.
Do you remember?
I barely remember Stanley.
Do you remember Stanley?
Of course.
Are you a friend of Stanley's?
I used to be.
Uh-huh.
And who was his intern? Good question. At Iliad.
Oh yes, of course it was. That's right. Yeah, Hans worked for him. Yeah. Can I tell you a story about Stanley Myers? A very quick story.
With pleasure.
I arrived in LA for the first time, and it was pretty difficult working on a film there. Nobody warned me it was the BBC. Really, it's the BBC. I was sussed out immediately. No one said it's the BBC. You know, so that's fine. So I met Stanley Myers, and he looked very glum, and he'd just been fired from a job called Soap Dish or something. Good movie. I saw the movie. It was a great movie. You on it? I love this. But it's real. It's real. But you'll love this story. The thing was, you did the score. I'm sorry. But it was great though. But you'll love this. But poor Stanley. They fired him from this job, right? Then he's in London, drowning his sorrows in a bar somewhere, and the East End or London, wherever he lives. And then they had let's choose another composer. So they started playing those days a cassette of all the music. They said, get him. They said, they've just fired him. That's a true story.
And
it was Stanley's music they just fired.
And he added rather.
Sorry?
And he added rather.
I don't understand, sorry.
No. It was how he was speaking, rather.
So I don't understand. Yeah, I'm very sorry. It's a
okay.
lie. But anyway, that's life. That's what happens in the business. These things happen because people making decisions lose faith for the wrong reasons. They get worried. They get nervous. It wasn't his fault, So it's the business. It's a business.
Can you tell everyone who was his intern? Hans who?
They actually worked together. He wasn't an intern, really. They actually worked together, is my understanding from Maggie, right? Because Maggie Rodford here, Maggie and Stanley were very close friends. And I remember now, Maggie told me this, that Hans started by working with Stanley, so it wasn't quite an internship. When I talk about internships, I talk about people who learn from you, people who don't actually co-write with you. You're talking about people who learn from you. So to be someone who can take a lot of the burden away from your work, it's really about them learning from you the craft of filmmaking. It's a very important thing to pass on to the next generation.
Okay, these were great stories. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, because those, as you can imagine, those gentlemen have to prepare for the concert tonight. So many thanks to Daniel, many thanks to Patrick, many thanks to Alan for really a great conversation with a lot of laughs. Thanks to Dirk, who already left us because he has